Welcome to the PathMonk Presents podcast. PathMonk is the AI for website conversions. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. PathMonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50% by adding PathMonk to your website in seconds, letting the artificial intelligence do all the work, and increase conversions by 50% while you keep doing marketing as usual. Check us out on pathmonk.com. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of the PathMonk Presents podcast. Let's talk about today's guest. We've got Jordi Black, marketing operations over at Zinc. Jordi, how are you today?
Good, thank you. What about yourself?
I'm doing quite well. Getting over a little bit of a sickness, but moving forward. So we're really looking forward to having you on the show today and talking a little bit more about Zinc. Obviously, this is a podcast that focuses around growth and marketing and digital strategies. And we're really looking forward to learning about what Zinc has been doing in terms of growing your operations over there. But before we dive really too far into the details, I was hoping we could get started with kind of like a nice introductory type question. Why don't you tell us about your company? Tell us about Zinc. What's it all about?
Nice. So yeah, we are an employment background checking service, primarily focused on sort of the UK mid to enterprise companies. And we enable hiring teams to hire faster, more efficiently and compliantly by providing various checks that they need to do on candidates.
Very nice. Everyone got a niche. So to dive a little bit deeper, I wanted to know a little bit about who you serve. So what sort of companies, industries do you work in? What are some of the problems you solve for these people? Maybe you can tell me about that.
Yeah, sure. So I think primarily anyone who's hiring, we can serve. But I guess our focus and where we kind of do our best work are around sort of regulated industries. So finance, healthcare, education, because they have checks that they have to do by law because they are bound to a specific regulator. And often in those industries, there's a need for hiring quickly. There's lots of competition. It's hard to get candidates in. And so they need these processes to be as quick and as accurate as possible.
I know oftentimes when you're dealing with all of those regulations, it can really slow things down quite a bit. So it seems like you guys are one of those tools that are kind of stepping in and allowing those processes to move a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, glad to hear. So speaking more so on the growth and marketing side of things, I'm really interested to know about kind of the, let's say, client acquisition channels that you guys have been working with. Can you tell me about what's been working for you guys from a marketing standpoint? Are there any specific acquisition channels that have really paid off recently? Things that you've tried?
Yeah, so our website is kind of our front door, our house, I guess, of our sort of marketing and sort of demo generation. It does very well, which we're very happy with. We've also found a lot of success with our sort of in-person events. So we do a lot of trade shows, speaking to customers directly, selling our services that way. And that seems to do really well as well. I think the two combined, because often people will kind of come to the event, see us there, check us out on our site, and then book a demo or book directly at the event. But those two things tend to play really nicely together.
And in terms of the website, saying that it's kind of like your the first thing that people see, it's their first kind of interaction with the company, and you're using it kind of like as a client or a lead generation tool for booking demos. How do you measure the success of the website? Like, what are some of the metrics that you guys are focusing on most? I know everyone's always looking at maybe the marketing strategies or how many demos did we book today, but what are some of the other metrics that you're really looking at on more of a daily basis?
So we've kind of moved within the marketing team to kind of move away from the number of demos. For I guess a year or two ago, we were very kind of hyper fixed on how many demos we were kind of generating. We then launched a self-serve model so that we enabled people who are a bit smaller and kind of not quite the right fit to have a demo to self-serve and just start using the platform themselves. And kind of with that shift, it meant that our focus now is now more on generating pipeline for the sales team and for the company. So predominantly that's our sort of main metric that we are tracking.
Got it. Yeah, working in tandem with the sales team, right? Not just relying 100% on the inbound leads to book demos, but making sure that they are constantly, let's say, flooded with as many potential opportunities as possible.
Yeah.
Love hearing that, especially as a sales guy myself. I like to hear
Yes.
okay, so when we talk about how you kind of manage growth and how it moves forward, I'm curious to know a little bit about kind of the tools or methods that you're utilizing to basically make sure that you guys are constantly moving in the right direction. Are there any sort of tools or methods that you would recommend or things that you're utilizing yourself that you really, really like?
Yeah, so we kind of, we're a startup for about a year or two ago and kind of moving up towards sort of scale up, and our targets have been increasing. Luckily, our performance has also increased at the same rate, which is great. And so I guess we've constantly had to keep evolving what we're doing. So 2 years ago when I joined, it was very kind of ad hoc. Kind of everyone was doing, the two of us were doing everything. And we're just giving everything a go to see what would work on a sort of day-to-day basis. Now we're a lot more sort of structured in what we're doing, and kind of recognizing that in some channels there's a longevity that you have to play with, that you can't expect to see results straight away, and you should still continue to do those activities if you know sort of the likelihood of them kind of being lucrative is high. So yeah, I guess kind of for that, it's kind of brand awareness activities that we're focusing on quite a lot, that don't necessarily lead to demos, pipeline, or sort of leads initially, or kind of anytime soon, but sort of it is important work to do that needs to happen in order for that person to come back, 6-12 months later, remember who you are because of the activities you've done, and then book a demo.
So it sounds like kind of where you were maybe a year and a half to 2 years ago is totally different from where you are today, kind of like growing pains. How long have you guys been around for?
We started in 2017.
Congratulations on the growth, by the way.
Thank you.
I wanted to move a little bit away from Zinc as a business and a little bit more into Jordi as the marketing professional, and talk a little bit about kind of how you focus your day-to-day routine, or we'll say the tasks that you focus on. Are there any key or core responsibilities or tasks that you really make sure you're focusing on every single day at work?
Yeah, so I guess my main one is making sure all of our marketing data is accurate. So I spend a lot of time in Google Analytics. HubSpot probably is where I spend most of my days, the split between the two, and just kind of identifying kind of what people are doing, how they're doing it, and what we can sort of take from that and sort of iterate on and use or not use in some situations.
That's very interesting. We do something similar here at Pathbook. Basically, always identifying where people are going, what parts of the pages are converting the best, how can we always improve upon conversions. It's kind of like what we focus on. But it's nice to know that people are doing something similar out there.
Yes.
In terms of the business, I know everyone's always trying to get smarter, optimize themselves. Is there anywhere that you go to kind of learn or grow a little bit more personally to kind of stay up to date and keep yourself operating at the top level?
Yeah, I think, what do I do? Oh yeah, I'm a sucker for LinkedIn. I often find myself scrolling through. I'm lucky to have sort of curated my feed to a point where actually I'm not just consuming kind of rubbish. So I get a lot of useful things from there. I think obviously with sort of the rise in AI and people generating content at scale, the levels of content online has significantly sort of fallen slightly in terms of originality. So I find that actually LinkedIn is a good resource for seeing people's new ideas and tips and hints that are their actual thoughts. So that's really useful. And then I guess usually it's when I have a problem, or I want to try and solve something, I'll just search online, and then I discover 500 other things that will help me solve that problem, and I have to then go and learn those things as well.
Yeah, I find myself being more of a YouTube person for tutorials or how do I quickly learn how to utilize a new software or, trying to quickly consume some content in terms of like a short 15-minute video rather than reading, a 2,000 word article. But then, yeah, you can kind of get lost in all of the content that's on there, right? And then, like you said, eventually you're just scrolling through rubbish instead of what you actually started looking for in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to move into, I guess, what we would call the rapid fire round. So, what we're looking for here is short, crisp answers. First thing that comes to your head. It's a little bit more playful. It's a little bit more we'll say, playful is a good way to put it. But try to put your creative thinking cap on, okay? I'll toss you an easy one to get started. What's the last book that you read?
Last book? It was a book called Useful, Not True by Derek Sivers. I'm not too sure how to say his last name.
I'll have to add it to my list. Next question. If there were no boundaries in technology, what would be the one thing that you would want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
Just have 100% visibility on a customer's user journey.
Good. Okay, next one, rapid fire. If there was one repetitive task that you could automate, what would it be?
Cleaning up my databases.
And lastly, what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today?
Good question. I think I would say ask why more. I think so much of marketing is situational and contextual that actually often the status quo might not work or is not the right thing to do. And so just following along with that is probably going to hinder more than it will help. And asking why we're doing a certain thing a certain way or certain process will probably yield better results.
Yeah, wise words. I couldn't have said better myself. So that's going to be wrapping things up for today's episode, Jordi. I really want to say thank you so much for joining. I think anyone out there that's looking to automate their employee background check process in terms of the hiring process, please go check out Zinc. They're an awesome company. But before we wrap things up, I do want to give you the final word, and that is, if anyone watching this episode was to forget everything that they just watched, what is the one thing they should remember about Zinc?
The hiring process is often really long and arduous, but it doesn't have to be.
Really well said. Great job. Okay, Jordi, thank you so much for joining today. I really enjoyed having you on the call. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon.
You too.